Hey, welcome back. This is my second video on response, so hopefully you've watched the first one. It focused on air attacks. Now we're going to talk about how to add articulation back into your sound. The goal is to add the articulation without changing the block of air we were using during the air attacks. We were thinking about a rectangle of air, always using exactly the air required for the job, and the articulation should not come between us and that perfect air shape. So our main concern here while we're practicing articulation is going to be making sure that our air feels like we're air attacking, even though we're adding the articulation back in. I'll demonstrate how I practice this is I'll do a few air attacks until I'm really confident, really comfortable with that pitch, and then I will add the articulation and I will try to keep the feeling of the air the same for the articulation. After all, it's the air that buzzes the lips, not the lips that buzz the air, and certainly not the tongue that buzzes either of those things. Pretty happy with those air attacks, so now I'm going to add the articulation. Hopefully you could hear that I'm using the same rectangle of air every time, regardless of whether I'm air attacking or articulating. That is your first goal. And the second goal, of course, is trying to make the sound as beautiful as possible. Speaking of which, if things aren't sounding good, if you feel like you've been practicing your air attacks and your articulations for a while and for some reason things still aren't working, but they're maybe a little fuzzy, it's time to check your center. Check whether, or in other words, we talk about centering the sound. What we really mean is, am I buzzing the pitch that the trumpet wants to play? Or am I buzzing maybe a little sharp of where the trumpet wants to play? I'll demonstrate. This is, if I buzz a little higher than the trumpet wants to play, I get a sound like this. You can hear it's muffled. It doesn't matter how good my air is. If I disagree with the trumpet in that way, I'm just not going to sound good. So the way to fix this is to bend the note down and look for a better, more beautiful, rounder, easier part of the pitch, a part that agrees with what the trumpet wants to do. I'll demonstrate. So I'll start high. I'm going to let my pitch fall until I'm sure I'm definitely flat. And then I'm going to let the pitch rise up, and I'm looking for that beautiful, rounded center. And now, once I have my center, I'll practice some more air attacks and articulations. Coming back to the subject of articulation, you might find that you need a little bit of time to set up your articulation between the inhale and the block of air. You might find that it gets in the way of producing a clean block of air because you're spending time thinking about how you should place your tongue. You can actually get your tongue placed while you inhale. The O breath is kind of the standard for wind players. We like to hear that O when someone is inhaling because we know that they're inhaling efficiently and fully. But if you place the tip of your tongue where you normally articulate and you breathe around it, you can get very much the same thing. It will give you a little more of an L sound. You might have heard an L. But I can still get a great inhale, and now my tongue is perfectly placed for an articulation when I turn my air around. This should make the process of articulation a little more fluid. Give it a try and see what you think. And I think that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for listening, and happy practicing.